We are back for another edition, episode number 4, season 2 of the Rough Draft podcast. Matt Giannatino here in New York with Kenny Rotuno and Andy Prowls in Massachusetts. What's going on, boss? How are you?
How the hell are we?
Wow, got some musical tunes over there, getting ready to rock. Breaking news this week, Adam Schefter and some sources have confirmed that Andy is going to be in New York for the draft in the green room.
Tough to actually believe right now,
we'll
but
see.
We'll be all right.
If our sources can confirm, maybe some fettuccine can close the deal or some godforsaken foods. Who knows? We'll see. But
that was a notification. I think the deal's getting signed. I'll be in New York. It'll be a grand old time.
Yeah. And
that's the rumor.
That is the rumor. There. Speaking of rumors, there's been a lot of rumors, as we've spoken about maybe Odell Beckham getting traded to the Rams, but that was taken care of by your New England Patriots, trading Brandon Cooks to the LA Rams. Pretty good deal for the Patriots. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, definitely a good return, more than we got back last year. He's in the last year of his deal. While he's a good wideout, I don't think he's a true number one. Kind of struggles to separate from man, but he'll stretch the field for the Rams. I personally think they overpaid big time. You could have drafted Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore with that pick, had 5 years of cost control, but I'll gladly take a mid-first round pick for a player that we can replace with Hogan, Mitchell, Edelman. Now Jordan Matthews got signed a couple hours ago.
So right, and that's I think the greatest thing about what the Pats do is they get rid of a guy like Brandon Cooks, no problem, and kind of just get a replacement and really transition with no problem. So, that's a great move for them. And speaking of wide receivers, perfect transition for us all. Our top 5 receivers in this draft. And later on after our top 5, we're going to also cover the Giants, Jets, and Patriots mock drafts. Maybe as well as some scheme fits for the guys that we have in our top 5. So we will we'll kick it off. We'll go 5-1 as usual.
Are we gonna bounce off 5-5-5 like that
we'll
again?
Rotate. I think Kenny, you went last time.
I hope so.
So Andy, why don't you start it off?
Sounds good to me. So 5th receiver right now. I currently have a tie. It's kind of a cop-out, but one guy, obviously Michael Gallup out of Colorado State. Just a very solid outside number 2 kind of receiver. Less explosive Michael Thomas. Not a lot to his game to talk about, really. Just I think it'll be a good intermediate option next level. Not really number 1. There's not really number 1 in this class, but I like him. And then obviously tied alongside him would be Antonio Callaway. He's dinged here mostly just because his myriad of issues. You know, he did credit card theft. Like he didn't play last year, but on the field, I think he separates the best of any receiver in this draft. Reminds me kind of a Deion Branch, just a really good wideout. I would take him in the 3rd round. He's worth a gamble.
So he'll be on the Raiders because of his off-the-field stuff. Interesting you said that Callaway is one of those guys that I think could almost be a day 1, early day 2 guy, but with all his off-the-field problems, he's going to really kind of screw himself. And honestly, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he'll go undrafted, obviously, but it wouldn't surprise me. Almost like a Lyle Collins kind of deal. What happened with him, and we see it every year. I'm kind of waiting actually for the news to break about a prospect coming up soon that, he either
Laramie Tunsil
or, Laramie Tunsil gas mask. Something's going to happen. I'm waiting for it. So that'll be exciting to break on the podcast. For me, I also have a tie. I have Michael Gallup as well and James Washington. Michael Gallup, I have him comped to Ruben Randall, who actually played for the Giants for a couple of years. Like you said, Andy, he's not the flashiest guy, but he'll be a possessions receiver. He'll kind of, he kind of do it all. He's pretty good at going up, getting the ball. He doesn't have crazy breakaway speed. He kind of just gets it done. I think he'd be a really good complement receiver. Like you said, even with a guy, I could see him in like a New Orleans system with like Drew Brees across from Michael Thomas. Give them a really good, solid number 2. I know he's a guy you comp him to. And then tied for 5th, like I said, is Washington, James Washington from Oklahoma State. He kind of doesn't get a lot of credit. I think he's one of those guys that people kind of just destroy from over-analysis. I mean, he's the Blitnikoff Award winner. I think he's you look at like Brandon Cooks, obviously, Corey Coleman, guys that come from that kind of system. He's obviously not as fast, but his speed is a big concern. But I like the way I like the way he plays the game. Honestly, I think he can transition pretty well, and I think he'll be okay. A team maybe like the Miami Dolphins who want to replace Jarvis Landry. I know they went out and they signed Albert Wilson from the Kansas City Chiefs, and of course they brought over Amendola. But I could still see that type of receiver in their offense. Day 2 guy for me, and I think he'd be a solid pickup. So, Kenny?
I'll follow with the whole tie trend here at number 5. I'll start, obviously, since we all kind of agree here. I also have Gallup as one of my guys tied for 5th. You guys kind of hit most of the points with him. I know he's had a lot of time in that high volume passing game that Colorado State had, and I don't know. I loved watching them. They were able to just throw it downfield, and he kind of every level he was able to make a difference, which was a reason that I really liked him. He made big plays, and it might not have been like flashy like you said, but big plays for them constantly, time and time again. So I really enjoyed watching him, and I think he's going to be able to adjust well to the NFL style. And then I'm actually going to contradict Matt a little bit here. My other tie, I'm going across from Washington. I'm going Marcel Aitman. I think he's actually more talented than Washington is. All right, that's fine.
Hot take of the podcast, I guess.
I personally, I don't know. I really think he is. And I know I'm not alone. You may say it's a take. I know I'm not alone here. But everyone was focused on Washington, and he quietly put together a great season. I know it's in a passing game that always is going to put up stats, so it's kind of tough to translate those stats to, say, like a Ridley or someone like that who is in a run-first offense, especially with the running back at quarterback. But definitely someone that, I don't know, I think he's going to surprise some people, and I think his upside at that size is in this NFL. He's going to have a good shot at, I don't know, making a team, making a difference right away.
Yeah, definitely. And then one key analytic thing I will say about Aitman, which is interesting, the vast majority of the third down targets all went to Aitman instead of Washington. So that kind of shows, like, when the going gets tough, where they went.
Well, exactly. I think also, too, I think Aitman is a bigger receiver.
He definitely is.
So I think that definitely plays into the cards for Mason Rudolph there at Oklahoma. So they know what they were going to use James Washington for, more to stretch the field over the middle, more of a shifty guy, where Aitman is that bigger body, go up and get it, especially a red zone threat. And now you see in the NFL, even like a lower name guy like Brandon Coleman, who played for the Saints, he's a bigger guy. You kind of see it every year. Teams get guys like a Brandon Marshall on the Giants, or the red zone guys are bigger.
Definitely.
For that reason.
My only thing is with the third down point that Andy made, that kind of was part of the reason I really loved him. It shows the trust that the quarterback had in him, and Rudolph had in him. And you look at like the Patriots, I love as an example. They're a third down guy a lot of times. You saw like Amendola had a lot of third down catches.
Especially in the playoffs.
Edelman, when he's in the game, that's my point. Edelman in the game, isn't necessarily always the big target.
Mm-hmm.
It's the guy that the quarterback trusts the most to keep the drive going, and that speaks volumes for me. And that's why I think Aitman was such a, I don't know, I like him better than Washington.
Yeah, put Aitman with Aaron Rodgers. He'll be
good fit.
Knew the guy there. So
number 4 receiver, Anthony Miller out of Memphis. He's just a complete receiver, can really do it all. He's one of those like hybrid Z receivers, plays a lot in the slot but can go outside. Great separation, enough speed, and then high points the ball, catching traffic. Just a great solid receiver. I think his floor kind of is a Nelson Aguilar type intermediate slot option. And then his upside would be kind of like Doug Baldwin if he really played to his potential. I think he can fit in like nearly any offense. And the only knock I have on him, because he's a great athlete, elite production. He played at Memphis, wide open offense, lower competition. So that's why he's here as opposed to higher on the ranks.
Yeah. I have another tie actually for number 4. Believe it or not.
How many guys do you have in this top?
Big
ties. Top 5,
big ties. Well, I'll tell you what.
Top 10? You want to go top 10?
Maybe.
All right.
I think that would qualify as a top 10. Top
right.
8. I have DJ Moore out of Maryland, who I compare to Stephon Diggs. Guy that goes over the middle, tough receiver. it was funny. I was watching his tape and I was looking at some comps, and then I was like, "Oh wow, it looks just like Stephon Diggs." And then of course the comps compared him to that. Not just because he goes to Maryland, but that's honestly who I thought I was watching when I was seeing him play. And then another guy that here's my hot take. You guys know my affinity for Dante Pettis. I love Dante Pettis. I always did from Washington over the years with Browning over there. I think his game is really will translate very, very well. He brings a special teams component. Will step on the field right away for a team and definitely be productive. I just like the way his stride is. I compare him to like a less quick Deshaun Jackson or a college version of Odell Beckham with less route running ability. Just the way he runs, his strides, the way he can catch the football. He go up and high point it. Definitely needs to work on his route running, but he has good control. I like him a lot, and I think he'll be a good NFL player. I think his game, like I said, translates pretty well.
Yeah. So at number 4, I'm gonna follow in the footsteps a little bit here. I think DJ Moore is now. I've had a tough time deciphering where he exactly fit because they were so decimated this year at quarterback. What did they go through? 4 guys or something like that. It was ridiculous. So I honestly just felt bad for the guy. The team in general had no prayer once they lost their, I'll say, 2 quarterbacks, and it kind of DJ Moore. It's kind of tough spot for him because by the time they got to number 3, I'm not exaggerating. They were throwing balls 15 yards. It looked like they were gonna just die and not even make it. So I think his talent is able to show with a real quarterback, and I think that's why he kind of makes it into my top 5. So
okay, all right. Andy, go ahead, 3.
Yeah, then heading to receiver 3, DJ Moore. Yeah. Just pretty much the game on him, obviously, is high upside. He's young. He's what you're looking for, the athlete. I just think he's more raw than Anthony Miller. I have him above, obviously, because it's just his athleticism and his youth. And obviously, as Ken pointed out, that his quarterback play was atrocious. This is more upside play in the early second round for a team. And his game is similar to Jeremy Maclin. I know a lot of people have said Steve Smith, but I think that's an aggressive comp. Yeah, I see, but he won't be that good.
That's a little too much for my liking.
But I definitely see a young Maclin when he could stretch the field as opposed to his more possession type of game now. I think that's a good fit for Moore. I don't think he can be a number 1 receiver, but like this draft pattern, a high end number 2, and if you have good tight end or something, then a number 1 receiver.
Yeah. It's funny you brought up Steve Smith because my number 3 receiver is a guy I comp to Steve Smith from Texas A&M, Christian Kirk. Can go over the middle. He's a big, tough, strong guy. Again, I compare a lot of guys to a lot of the Giants players over the years, just because of watching them, and definitely even just reminds me of Sterling Shepard. Like I said, Steve Smith, tough, fast, goes over the middle, can go over the top. I really like his game. I think you look at guys in the league. We talk about transitioning now just to that kind of receiver who can play the slot, go over the middle, take hits. A la Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman. Tons of guys. Cooper Kupp now with the Rams over in LA, so similar type player in that sense. I like Christian Kirk because I think he's strong. He's stronger than a lot of he's not like that quick, shifty track guy who's going to be inside. I think he has a lot more power to his game, and I like his ability. He had performed pretty well at his pro day, but then again, who really doesn't perform well at their pro day? So. But anyway, regardless, and he has Johnny Manziel throwing him the football, so it doesn't get much better than that. But yeah, Christian Kirk is my number 3.
So I'm gonna make a leap here. I know a lot of obviously he's kind of the consensus for the most part number 1.
Calvin Johnson.
I actually have Ridley here. Calvin Ridley at 3. I don't know. Just seeing his combine, I really wasn't impressed. It was what was that? His 3 cone or something? That was. The 3 cone and his jumping was his vertical. His vertical
very
was
pedestrian.
30 inches maybe. It was bad.
Yeah, it was like atrocious. And I know he played in an offense with like Jalen Hurts, where all right, you had a running back literally trying to throw him the ball. And it's not saying that he can't be obviously a freak in this. We know Alabama receivers are generally stand the test of time, but the biggest thing for me is he seems very thin and a little bit frail. I know he weighs in at 190 or something like that, but I've heard he's closer to 180, where he's weighed in the 180s consistently. And in the NFL, you might get broken if at 6 feet tall. It's not compact.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm a little worried about. And I think if he can prove that he can be more shifty, work on that 3-cone. Like if your vertical and your 3-cone are both awful, like where do you fit in? Are you a threat like on jump balls? No. Are you a threat kind of making a move across the middle? No. So it's kind of tough for me, and I just see higher potential in my other 2 guys. So that's kind of why he fell to 3 for me.
Okay.
So then, my number 2 receiver, a pattern here is Calvin Ridley, bouncing off again. The athleticism combine testing proved that he's more of a technician than a complete number 1 wideout. But I love his route running. I love his toughness and the way he just turns out of cuts. And after the yards after catch, I really love his game. It's mostly the athleticism that's really killing me for him. But I still have number 2 receiver. I think he could be Crabtree at the next level. And also, he kind of reminds me of Matt's number 2 to Odell over there, Sterling Shepard, kind of similar games, just really crafty route runners, good receivers. And I do like Ridley a lot. I think he might fall to the second round because a lot of teams have these concerns, but I wouldn't shy away. I think he can play day one and really help the team.
Yeah, I think Calvin Ridley is interesting. To me, I don't know. I think he just, puts it together during the game. So for me, I don't have a problem with that. Like you said, Andy, his route running is awesome. He is, spoiler alert, he's still my number 1. And I know that's a definite unpopular opinion now, just based off his combine. But the reason
a lot of people still have him at 1.
I think it's really one of those things and the reason for that, why I have Sutton at 2, and here's my number 2 receiver, Cortland Sutton, is because I think his floor could be scary, kind of like a Laquan Treadwell, like that bigger receiver who
no arguments for me, definitely. I'll get to that too. I think his floor is bad.
Yeah, I think his floor could be really bad. I think his ceiling could be obviously very, very good, like an Alshon Jeffrey type of player, obviously because of his size. Talking about a red zone threat, and his level of competition. Again, yeah, it's a big one, D1A school, but still SMU isn't really playing those topper end, talent guys, and his route running is okay. His speed, he performed very well at the combine. He was faster, obviously, than most thought for a bigger guy. He definitely can high point the ball. I like him. I think in this class you have a lot of mediocrity that can turn to end up being very good talent. And like you guys said, there's Anthony Millers, Deshaun Hamiltons from Penn State too that you could get later on that could be honestly just as good as DJ Moore or Michael Gallup too. And there's a very fine line there. So for me, number 2, Cortland Sutton from SMU. It's close, but I think that you can't really beat the production at Alabama. And they churn out some pretty damn good receivers, like you said, Andy Crabtree, and is a good talent that evaluation for Ridley. But I just like his route running. Even they had Amari Cooper years ago, so I just think you can't really pass up on him for number 1. So I guess that's also my 2 and 1. I did 2 in 1 shot. There you go.
Beautiful.
Go ahead, Andy.
All right,
Kenny.
All right. So my number 2 is actually Christian Kirk. I think that he can be out of the slot just beyond shifty. He's ridiculous. Like he's quick, he's fast, and I heard he actually interviewed really well at the combine. Which obviously it's a little different than a quarterback interviewing well, a wide receiver, but it still is impressive to me, especially with some inconsistent quarterback play. And I know last year he was facing double teams constantly. So it was kind of tough for them to get him the ball, and that's why I feel some teams might be down on him based off of his production last year. But I still think he's going to be a really special talent in the NFL. And now this isn't me, but I've heard that a nickname that he's actually gotten from some of the scouts is Baby Beckham, going to you, Matt. That's ridiculous. It's crazy. I'm not saying that.
Doesn't have the explosion. No.
What was that?
Doesn't have the explosion of Beckham. Can't even sniff that.
I agree. I'm just saying.
If you want to say like a Jarvis Landry in college,
that's much better.
Yeah, it's not my.
Yeah, no.
I'm simply saying what other people have said. I don't agree, but that I understand the wow
yeah.
factor of seeing his upside. And
well, if you look at like A&M receivers, besides Mike Evans, really, who have they had in a very, again, spread pass heavy offense?
right,
I mean, they really haven't had many guys come out of there. Christian Kirk, when he first stepped on the scene, was like, okay, Christian Kirk, top recruit in high school. He performed very
Right.
well. So it's not like they have a track record again, like Calvin Ridley, where they're bringing out some good receivers.
no, I agree, but it's also you also have to remember like he's last year facing double teams. The year before the quarterback play, like obviously it's still a spread offense, but like I don't know. At some point, the quarterback obviously matters.
Yeah.
So you can have a spread offense, but like if you have a running back or some guy who can't hit the broadside of a barn throwing, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, he never really had much quarterback help.
Exactly. So that's kind of for me. I see the upside in him. The top three to me have the upside, and that's what kind of draws me to them. And the ranking is flip floppy, kind of.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing just to note, obviously, like receivers, this draft is like they're just all clumped together. Like you guys love Kirk, and just because I don't have him top 5, like he's like 7th for me. They're all so close.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Matt actually before we jumped on, and I have guys from like I gave whatever we're giving top 5. Maybe we had a 6th because we did a tie at 5. But like there were, I was debating right up until we went here the guy 7, 8, 9 that could have easily been top 5. It's just a matter of preference, really.
Yeah, I think, and also Andy, sorry, real quick before you go, but another guy I want to touch on that's a sleeper for me.
We'll get sleepers after.
All right, sleeper after.
Let's go one. We know you already got it, but we're gonna go.
Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, my number one here. He's been number 1 for me for a while. You can ask Ken. I was before the combine explosion train. I love Cortland Sutton, number 1 receiver. The biggest reason he's number 1 for me is he's the only receiver in the class I think that can be a true alpha X receiver. Alshon Jeffrey, Demaryius Thomas type guy. He's insane on the screen game after the catch for a guy his size. And like Matt said, the biggest knock on him obviously is just his floor is dangerous because he's not a refined route runner. That's something you got to bet on that he improves on. But I just think at the next level, he can be a number 1 receiver where the rest of these receivers really don't have the skill set to be. So him versus Ridley's a tough one because Ridley's so much safer. So if you're a team like Dallas and Dak needs all the help he can get, I probably wouldn't go for a project like Sutton. I'd probably go for Ridley. So it depends on the team.
Yeah, I think, and also too with that, like Dallas. I mean, they added Hearns as well, and
I forgot about that. Yeah.
You grab a guy but if you grab a guy like Cortland Sutton or even Calvin Ridley, I mean, that's a pretty damn good 3 guys coming into the year.
Terrence Williams off the field.
Yeah.
Right.
So so for you.
Yeah, and I have Sutton as well at number 1, and you can. On the flip side, unlike Andy, I wasn't this high on him before the combine, but just seeing how he measured up to, like he wowed me when I saw what he did at the combine, and that really kind of just solidified his number 1 ranking for me, especially with my worries about Ridley, where I was able to, like I said, they're all so close. It's so tough for me to really distinguish, but I think he has the ability, like Andy said, he can be that true number 1 receiver. Alshon Jeffrey just seems like just too easy of a comp. Like it's literally like everyone's comping him to Alshon. So it's why stray from it, If I agree, and I think he has the ability to he can kind of take over a game. I feel like at times where he can just body guys because he's big, and I also the ability to. What do you run, like a 4.5 something 40? Like I didn't think he was going to be that fast, so that really just kind of put it over the top for me.
Yeah, for me, I think his combine it really helped him the most, just because
absolutely
you had those concerns, like if he runs slow, it's gonna drop.
That was exactly my worry. I thought he was going to be slow, and I was like, this is going to be big.
Right. Yeah.
But he really he wowed me, and I was, you know what. He did enough for me to bump him up. So
because if he runs in like the 4.6s,
then you start losing. Yeah, right. Exactly.
So a guy I wanted to talk about who
we'll each hit a sleeper.
Yeah, sleeper for me. Again, really could be close with a lot of these guys. Andy, like you said, they're kind of in clumps at this point. But a guy who had got a little bit of a rise coming through the past couple weeks. He died off a little bit, but I think I could see it. excuse me, picking up when the draft gets closer. LSU's DJ Chark. He's a guy who performed really, really well at the Senior Bowl. really fast. They like his size and his speed, of course, is a good combo together. So I could see his game translating very well, and a guy who could be a sleeper outside of this top 5, or for me, top 30 that I just ranked off. So no, but I think DJ Chark is a guy who definitely someone to look out for. And I like Anthony Miller too. He's there for me. But I think the concern is obviously the Memphis competition is, and he's not that dominant, like you said, with Cortland Sutton. I know they play in the same conference, the American. So again, there's a lot of guys that I can mention. I mentioned Deshaun Hamilton, who's kind of came up through the ranks past couple weeks too. Got a hot name right now too. So, but he's my sleeper.
Yeah, just you touched on it obviously with Deshaun Hamilton. I think he's a starting slot receiver. That's not a great endorsement, but he's very refined. Has a great mental makeup, polished game. He can come in day one and impact. He's similar to Cooper Kupp, I think. Like not a lot of upside, but rookie impact, and that's what you kind of need sometimes. And then for one deep sleeper, I hope I'm saying his name right, Doris Fountain out of where the hell did he play? I'm brain farting. He played North Dakota State in the game and scored like 2 touchdowns. And his athleticism profile.
Northern Iowa, is that it?
Northern Iowa, yep.
Yeah.
David Johnson recently came out of there, so who knows? He's a freak athlete. And the 2 games I watched online, I was impressed. I have no idea where he's projected. I'm assuming like the 4th, 5th round, but another receiver to keep an eye on.
Yeah. So for me, I have 2 guys, 1 main guy, but 2 just kind of same offense. So I'm really high on both of them. And then just a question for you guys of a guy that's kind of been climbing the ranks that none of us kind of touched on, but I think is going to be an interesting prospect. So my 2 guys are actually the Texas Tech duo of Kiki. I'm going to mess Kuti, however you say it, and Cantrell. And Kiki is, this guy he's quick as can be, and his route running is actually very refined, which to me I thought he was, when I went into the game watching it, I thought he was just going to be like this fast guy in the spread offense, and he was going to get the ball and just take off. But I watched some of his routes and his ability near the sideline, even though I know he's going to be that slot receiver guy, but his ability just, I don't know, he did a lot for me to kind of open my eyes to be more than just a middle of the road kind of slot receiver. He's fast. Maybe he'll get a lot of, if he gets opening, he'll be able to do something. So he really impressed me. And we saw what Cantrell did at the combine, where that was another thing that I had watched him. I said, wow, this guy looks like an athlete. I think he can be a really good player at the next level. He's obviously not going to get drafted high, but I think he has the ability to kind of make a difference once he steps onto the field. And then once I saw him at the combine, the guy was putting up numbers that I really didn't see him even coming close to. So I was extremely impressed by him. And then kind of just the question for you guys, I know, Matt, you're a big Notre Dame guy, Equanimous St. Brown, and he has that 6'5", 214 frame where that's got to be attractive. He's fast. I don't know what else we can kind of build off of that. There's so much there, but obviously the production wasn't necessarily where a lot of people wanted. That offense wasn't. That was run. But right. I'm curious what you guys think of him as a prospect, because it seems like he has all the measurables, but none of us really liked him top 5.
Yeah.
So
I think with Equanimous St. Brown, he's a guy coming out of high school who was really, really highly touted as a recruit. His brother is actually even better. He's going to USC, I believe, too, his brother. But, St. Brown is a guy who comes from Notre Dame. I watched a lot of Notre Dame. When you have an offense that is kind of, you have a quarterback who is mostly a dual threat at times, really heavy the run game. Josh Adams was obviously up for a Heisman conversation with that offensive line. They're built to obviously run the ball. But I like St. Brown. And, when you talk about bigger receivers, the biggest question is, are they fast? Because if they're not fast, then they're just going to be a slow outside guy. I think St. Brown, and that's the thing, St. Brown, you talk about a lot of these bigger guys who can now go in the slot. They're putting guys, in the slot now who are bigger, who can run. I think that's where he could do his damage. I like his route running, and his body control is really impressive for me. So for me, I like St. Brown. Maybe it's just a biased opinion because I watched a lot of Notre Dame, but I think he could have a big impact on the game. And, put him opposite like a Mike Evans in Tampa. Again, two big guys on the outside.
Mhm.
I like St. Brown a lot. So for me, I could see him in the 3rd round, 4th round guy. And I think he's one of those guys that if you miss on him, it's not going to be that big of a deal, but I think he could have a big impact.
Yeah, that's definitely reasonable. I can definitely. I think on the NFL is going to value him higher than we do. He'll get drafted higher.
That's what I was saying. Because I've seen him go high in a lot of mocks and just rankings. So I was curious where you guys.
How about the Jaguars for him? Because the Jaguars have no receivers at this point.
They got Marquise Lee. They got Moncrief.
Justin Blackmon.
That's about it. They're becoming the Ravens.
They still got Blackmon, right?
Yeah, I think they still have his rights.
All right, but yeah, just as a Patriots fan, I don't know. I've grown up with all these. I've seen receivers come through our system that just fail, and these big receivers who don't produce at the college level, they're a scary profile, Aaron Dobson out of Marshall, 2nd round pick, did nothing for us. To be a big receiver, you got to dominate. Like at least Colin Sutton may have not dominated, like all those big receivers do. Demaryius Thomas, Julio Jones. You go down the list, but you need to produce at that size because I promise you at the next level, these guys with the size they can't separate. And I'm just not sold on his game, but who knows? He could be a good value for somebody.
Yeah, that's what I just saw. I mean, his measurables are there. So it's just a matter of, to me, like obviously preference. And
yeah,
it's tough. I'm the same way as you are, Andy, where like his production was just not where it needed to be for me to rank him high or really be able to trust him with any sort of a high draft pick, where there are other receivers who are much more you're sure of what you're getting in them. So they're safer and probably have maybe not the same upside, but at least comparable upside. So right. I think that's why he might fall a little bit. But like Andy said, the NFL definitely values him higher than we do.
Sure.
So then heading to our mocks, I say, well, we're going to do mocks for each the Pats, Giants, Jets. We're going to talk about ours. I say we each do a round, like, we've been going around. So like we'll start with round 1, then round 2.
Sure.
Yeah, that's sure.
So who wants to go first? Anyone?
You want to go in order of our first round picks?
Sure. Yeah, we just can't forget.
We'll just go Giants.
Yeah.
Giants, Jets, Pats for each round.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Dun, 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 dun. All right.
Giants are now on the clock.
Yeah, with the 2nd pick in the draft, the New York Giants are going to select here. I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley. I think he's the safest bet. Pretty happy about it. I'll take it. Thank God. That would be anti-Matt war, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, just social media bonanza post. Finally get a good running back. I think, you talk about the running back position. You talk about guys, he can only make an impact for 4 or 5 years. You know what? That's what you have his contract for anyway. If he doesn't do anything after that, then at least you had him for his first rookie contract. I think he can help elevate that offense. Pat Shurmur's offense is one that relies on the running back being able to catch the football. You look at the Philly system over the years, Brian Westbrook. You look at even Dalvin Cook and with the Vikings last year, a lot of different guys, in that offensive system. To succeed, they have to catch the ball. He can block. He's a big body. I think he's arguably one of the best talents in the draft, if not the best talent in the draft. We've talked about it on our last show. One of the best talents to come out in a long time. I think the Giants have done enough to show that they're in a win now mode. They kept Eli. They didn't trade Odell. They brought in guys like Alec Ogletree, Nate Solder. I think it's a safe pick here. And I think it's kind of a no-brainer. Saquon Barkley, 2 overall.
So I'm going to pause for a second and ask you a question. What happens if Darnold doesn't go 1?
Yeah, if Darnold doesn't go 1, it's a good question, man. I think I think he has to be in the conversation for them at that point. I think he's a guy who can sit for 2 years and have no problem doing so. I think there's a lot. If Darnold doesn't go 1, the only guy I don't want the Giants picking is Josh Allen. And other than that, I'd be okay with anyone at that point.
Okay.
I really think when it comes down to it, I'm like 95% sure, honestly, that they're going to end up trading out of the spot with Buffalo. And I think Buffalo is going to end up giving them a lot. And I think that's the only way the Giants trade out. And I'm talking about like their next 37 years picks. I mean, we're talking like a Ricky Williams type trade. Because to move up from 12 to they're not like the Eagles where they moved up to like, I think it was like a mid first round to then 8, and then they moved to 4. I think they did like 2 trades.
They progressed.
But they also, they did it to get Wentz, of course. Buffalo kind of screwed themselves, though, I think. They let go of Tyrod Taylor, who is a Pro Bowl caliber guy. They brought in A.J. McCarron. They struck out on Nate Peterman, and they've kind of screwed themselves. So, I could definitely see that. I think that's definitely an option. But I think if it is a trade, it's going to be a lot. So,
would you then anticipate if they trade with Buffalo, trading back up into the top 10? Or would you think they'd stay at 12?
I think they would. They would definitely. That's definitely in the cards.
Possibly to go after like
a guy like a Quentin Nelson.
Exactly.
At 5 or 6. It's definitely something that I think the draft starts with the Giants. Not to be biased at all. I just really think that
definitely sets it off.
Sets the tone, and what they do is gonna, especially if it's a trade scenario, it's gonna be a big thing for them. So. That's that. Number 2. So number 3, kicking it off, New York Jets.
New York Jets. Let's just keep this short and sweet. Josh Rosen, if he's still on the board, for the love of God, don't screw it up. Don't shoot for the. Don't just take Rosen.
What if Darnold is there? What if it's Allen, Barkley, and then you got a choice of Darnold or Rosen?
That's a good question.
Oh.
Thanks,
the Jets can't go wrong. Like
that's my point. Kind of at that, like I'm assuming Darnold's gone, but going off of that, I wouldn't be necessarily like I'd be okay with either one. Mm-hmm. Rosen, I think, has the better just pure passing ability, but I think Darnold checks more of the boxes of that leadership mentality. He can still make any throw. He's going to force a lot, but.
Throw on the run, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. All the things we've already talked about. I'd probably go Rosen because he is my number 1. But that either way, I wouldn't be upset. Kind of like you were saying. Like if they went Darnold instead of Barkley, you wouldn't be upset. So I would be happy with either one of those, just as long as it isn't Baker Mayfield. Like if you take any of the 3 quarterbacks, Allen, Darnold, Rosen, I'm okay with it. Just stay on those 3. You moved in the top 3 because those are the 3 guys. Just grab one of them. Don't screw it up. Pat.
With the 23rd pick, the Patriots select Rashaan Evans, linebacker, Alabama. The Pats' biggest issue probably in the Super Bowl arguably was the middle linebacker spot with Hightower out. And Landon Roberts just can't defend the run, can't defend the pass, has no athleticism.
That sounds like a good linebacker.
Gets play action plays, just reads the wrong way, gets sucked out. You get the point. So, Rashaan Evans, this is very close. It's almost a coin flip, him or Leighton Vander Esch, but I just think Evans is more pro-ready. Obviously, the Alabama pedigree comes in, better run defender. Day one, his upside might not be super high, but I think he's a 10 to 12-year starter inside linebacker. C.J. Mosley, Gerard Mayo, maybe DeVar Bowman. He frees up Hightower to rush the passer, play outside linebacker. He'd come in day one, maybe play 90% snaps for us. Candidate for rookie of the year. I think he's a very safe pick, and this is what the Pats defense needs, kind of some stability there at linebacker.
I think for the Pats, another guy I was thinking of, because the Giants got Nate Solder, is at 23. I think he'd be there, to be honest with you, is Mike McGlinchey from Notre Dame. I think I could definitely see him being a guy who could be in play for them there as well. I think that could be an underrated pick. I think that's right in the wheelhouse of where he should go and where they could get him, especially with the offensive tackles being a little bit lighter in this class. You probably would miss out on a Connor Williams in round 2, or even if he goes round 1, I think that's it's too – he won't slide that far. So I think maybe Mike McGlinchey there would be a good fit too.
I wouldn't mind that. The Pats have some names in their building that they do like. I know from an outside perspective, it's like, here they go trying to start nobodies again, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do pass on tackle high. We'll see. Yeah. But I like McGlinchey's game. He would start and he would provide help. So
yeah, and he's a similar type player to what they had in Solder.
I think he's the most pro-ready tackle. I would be very content with that.
Yeah. All right.
Then, just before we go, the Pats have another one. So
yep. No, go ahead.
We
got you, buddy.
So yeah, with the 31st pick, Patriots select Lamar Jackson, quarterback, Louisville. I necessarily wouldn't make this pick, but the Pats, our GM's Belichick, but our GM in names, Nick Casario, he went there. He's been scouting him. Lamar Jackson runs our offense, the Earnhardt Perkins system. And I just think McDaniels, you look at Tebow, you look at the plays he installed with Brissett 2 years ago when Brady was suspended. I think he wants this next-gen mobile quarterback. And while Lamar, I have him as a second-round guy, he's not ready. I think he's the perfect guy at just 21 years old to sit for a couple years, learn behind Brady. And at the late first round, they lock up his fifth-year option. And we're going quarterback based on all these reports, so it's just a matter of when.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Second-round pick for the New York Giants, I think would be 34 overall.
Whatever.
Yeah, 34 overall. I'm going to go with Isaiah Wynn from University of Georgia.
Nice.
I think he's one of the biggest technicians in the draft. He reminds me a lot of Justin Pugh, who they drafted a few years back. Kind of just does everything right. Good footwork, good hands, low center of gravity. He's a mauler in the run game, very technically sound. Like I've been saying, he played tackle at Georgia, projects well at guard, so he could do both for the Giants if need be. Would come in right away, probably start for them at right guard. And obviously they need offensive line help where they can get it, and I think he would really round out their offensive line for years to come, what they're trying to do, building moving forward. So I have Isaiah Wynn at
Nice.
34. So
The New York Jets do not have a second-round pick due to a massive trade-up.
that's right.
Andy.
The Patriots select 43rd overall, Hayden Hurst, tight end, South Carolina.
Yep, good pick.
Obviously, Gronk, I want to retire. I want to do WWE. I want to be The Rock. I want to be Sylvester Stallone. I want to be Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, we get it, dude. So they need to plan ahead.
Nothing wrong with Leo.
But, yeah, Hayden Hurst, just a complete tight end. Louis Riddick, guy, opinion I value. He says he's the only tight end you really look at because he's an elite blocker. Can do a little everything. I don't think he'll be a elite tight end at the next level, but I could see him as a Hunter Henry type, Cameron Brate. And he's been great in all the leadership stuff. He met with the Patriots twice. I think he's just a sound second-round tight end, and I'd be happy to have him.
Yeah, I like him a lot. He's my favorite tight end actually in the draft. People will complain about his age. He's a little older, baseball kid, but I think that's a crock of shit because again,
Kupp was 25. Like, I would love to have Cooper Kupp on my team.
Right. If you had, but again, you
Could
talk
have
about a guy. Yeah, you could have Brandon Whedon. But again, like, what does that really matter? You have the guy 4 or 5 years. I mean, that's like the prime of his career, and then you just don't give him a second contract. And if you do now, with the way contracts are going, 2-3 years, his second deal, I really don't see a problem with that. And I think it's a stupid argument against the guy moving forward. But I like Hayden Hurst a lot. So on to round 3, I guess. Right.
One more second round.
Oh, you guys have another second rounder. Okay.
And he's like, listen, we finally have picks. Let me enjoy it.
Last year, no picks. At least
That
now
was
I can
glorious.
So then every year the Patriots make a surprising reach type pick. So at pick 63, the Patriots like PJ Hall, defensive tackle, edge rusher, Sam Houston State. This guy's risen a lot. He has great athleticism, insane production at a small school, and he's gone from like 6th round to like 4th. And the Pats have met with him privately at the school, and they've used one of their 30 visits at the Foxborough site for him to come visit. So we're showing a ton of interest in this kid. I don't know a lot about him. I've watched a couple games, but the Pats clearly like him a lot, and he definitely fits a need, that hybrid 3-4 defensive end, defensive tackle type role that we definitely could bolster some depth there. So that's the pick at 63.
Okay. All right. Giants have 66 and 69. Nice. So I'm going to say they go with James Daniels, center from Iowa. They have Brett Jones, who's coming in again as a restricted free agent, the Canadian Football League guy who played very well at center, replacing my guy Weston Richburg for the Giants. I think, again, builds the offensive line for the future. Could come in right away, honestly, and play if need be. Iowa puts out some pretty damn good offensive linemen over the years. Very run heavy, obviously pro style offense. Daniels is a little shorter, but again, I think the Giants mind that, considering Brett Jones looks like a Munchkin from Munchkin Land. He's like 5'1". No, he's like 6'1", 6 foot, if that. So James Daniels, I think, again, you move Brett Jones to center guard if you needed to and start him. So it depends on what they do, but James Daniels. And then 69, I don't know how to say his first name, but I know his last name is Nwosu from USC, the edge rusher. Fits the new 3-4 edge rusher scheme for the Giants. Could put his hand in the dirt in a 4-3 if they go multiple look for James Bettcher's defense. Excuse me. Really high motor guy, really good. I liked him a lot. I watched his film quite a bit, and I think he would fit right in and just continue to bring in the pass rushers for Bettcher. And Dave Gettleman loves his pass rushers, as we've seen over the years. So I'm going to go Nwosu from USC, 69 overall.
So then we go Jets. We're finally back on the clock here.
Hey-o.
At 72, especially if we take Rosen at 3, Mr. Concussion Man, you're going to need to get some people to protect him. We're obviously looking towards at least somewhat of the future. So that's why I'm going with Brian O'Neill, tackle out of Pitt. Now, I think he's quick.
He ran like a 4.9, didn't he?
Yeah, that's like he's quick. He's more of like a zone scheme blocker. He lacks strength right now, but that's something that I think will come as he obviously is in the NFL, goes on a lot of these training programs, whatever, for in the next couple of years. So I really think that'll be a pick that we would be then building with Rosen. And I think that you got to protect the guy that's every time he gets hit, he might, stop playing football. So you really got to protect the guy. I think Brian O'Neill is going to be able to do that. Any sort of line help we can get, it starts with a quarterback and then goes to the offensive line from there. So that's why I like Brian O'Neill moving forward.
Okay.
Who's your next third rounder? You have 2, right? No?
I don't think so.
Okay.
There's a possibility. I don't think so. I thought we had 4.
Okay, there you go. My bad. Early 4th round. So Pat's on the clock, 95th overall. Pat's like Fred Warner, linebacker out of BYU. Just going back, the Pats need athletes at linebacker.
Didn't they draft Harvey Langley a couple years ago?
Yeah, he's undrafted. He's got a car wreck. Hopefully he's better. God help him. But Fred Warner, just very athletic linebacker, can cover tight ends, running backs out of the backfield, come in on third downs. He's not really a complete linebacker his game. He's undersized, but in the late third round, we need to bolster our athletes at that position.
Okay. All right. I have the Giants at 108 in the 4th round, taking Alex Kappa from Humboldt State, offensive tackle. For me, digging into the prospect pool here, Division I AA guy, one of the nastiest offensive linemen I've actually ever studied on tape. He's really, really good. He works out with Charles Bentley, who, if anyone knows anything about the offensive line, knows that he puts out some pretty damn good prospects himself. And he works with a lot of those guys, like Kyle Long and Weston Richburg and Alex Boone, guys like that. So, he's shown that he can play. I think he could come in and play right tackle for the Giants. Maybe not within a year, but within 2 years, I think he could be a starter for them. And again, continuing to build that offensive line. If they do this trend, they'll be set on the right side and the left side of their line. Probably moving on from Eric Flowers. Thank the Lord. If not this year, next year. And I think Kappa could come in and again play. Very athletic, very strong, finishes well. If his game could translate to the NFL, which of course sounds very cliche, but if he can do that at the higher level against better competition, which he did at the Senior Bowl,
that's the goal.
I think he could come in and be a big starter for them moving forward.
All right, so then 107, actually a pick before the Giants.
Oh, sorry,
No, we were going in that order. It's fine.
Right.
I like to express that it's one ahead. Now I'm hoping that, we need linebacker help. Early round 4, I'm hoping a team in the 3rd round doesn't. For his sake, I hope a team goes for him in the 3rd, but I'm hoping he falls to 4, a guy I've been in love with for a year now. Shaquem Griffin. I think there's I think he can fall that far, just because I think there's going to be hesitation from a lot of teams when the actual draft day comes, and I think he's a difference maker. He can play a handful of positions. You can kind of move him around a lot.
No pun intended.
On the field. Okay, but you can move him around a lot on the field.
I'm glad you can do that.
What was that?
I'm glad you can move him around a lot. I don't know, sorry.
In a handful of positions. That's why I made the joke.
Oh, handful. I didn't even know what the.
This guy's trying to get Jakeem Griffin in the early fourth. I just want my audience to know he's like a late first round talent. He's missing a hand, so of course the Jets guys is trying to like, oh, we can sneak him in here. Yeah, he's getting invited to the draft. This man's getting drafted late second, early third. It's gonna be a hell of a moment for him. The TV ratings. Just letting you know, this Jets guys is trying to sneak in a value here.
I mean, I hope so, but I've seen mock behind the Jets. At
I'm just being a jerk. It's late at night. I'm the Patriots guy. Sorry.
You're the Patriots guy. I don't chirp you too much about your takes, but it's all good. It's fine. You're tired. It's 11 o'clock. Sleepy over there. It's all right. But yeah, Shaquem Griffin. I think obviously I love him. Closing speed. Blah blah blah. One hand. We get it. All right, Andy, you go.
No, I'm not picking the 6th round here.
All right, so you don't get to go. Haha, you lose.
So I get to go. And people forget that there is a third element of football called special teams, which the Giants are lacking quite a bit of. And I'm going to go punter Michael Dixon from Texas in the 4th round. Arguably one of the best punters to come out in a long time. I think, honestly, that's right where he goes, 4th round. Best punter, again, in a long time. I think the Giants struggled with that. It was a big issue for them, especially with their offense struggling as it did and their defense also struggling as it did. So field position killed them a lot of times. And that's a part of the game that is very undervalued and overlooked. So Michael Dixon, for me, would be a guy who'd come in. I think he could play for the Giants for the next 8-10 years. I'm not even kidding. And put them back into good consideration on special teams. Thank God. So hopefully he's the pick there.
All right. So we're going to go Jets here at pick 157. A guy, I don't know if some people haven't heard of him. I know Andy hasn't or hadn't or whatever the deal may be. We have Trey Johnson out of Villanova, cornerback. FCS guy. My infatuation with those guys, not really. But it's going to be obviously a big leap for him. He's 5'11", but one of the most impressive things last year, had 15 pass breakups. And, I mean, the Jets really can get any help that they can. They'll take any help they can at cornerback. I mean, I'm tired of just seeing time after time. Oh, look, pal, up. They're throwing it first down. So we got the safeties. Now we need to go with the cornerbacks. And I think this kid is – I mean, we're kind of hoping for a lightning in a bottle here. This FCS guy – hopefully he can make an impact right away, step in, maybe a little chip on his shoulder playing FCS. Who knows? I mean, I think the guy has a chance to be able to step in day one and be able to play on the Jets team, whatever it's in nickel or whatever, whenever they might need him. I think he's small. I get that, but I think he's going to have the ability to at least play for them. And we need a cornerback, so I'll take the shot on the FCS guy.
Okay. All right.
Who's up next? I have a pick at 198.
You don't get a pick again.
Wow.
Move on. You have the early picks, not the late picks. It's fine.
All right. So that would be me at, I think, what is it? 139. So I'm going to go with UCF receiver Traquan Smith.
I like that.
He's kind of a riser on the draft boards. I was actually very impressed with with his combine. Did a lot for them at UCF. Obviously, was their number one receiver. I like what he does, and I think he's a good value there at that point. Again, you talk about clumps at the receiver position, but a lot of the guys we talked about earlier in the podcast will probably be gone. So you got to get a value guy. Production was there at UCF, and I like his game. So I'm going to go Traquan Smith, UCF.
All right. So then we'll have the Jets here at pick 179. Going to go receiver. We do need a receiver. I kind of touched on it earlier. This guy, I've been a fan of his for a while now. Like I said, out of Texas Tech, Dylan Cantrell. I kind of spoke to what he was earlier, so I don't want to go too much in detail. But
Chad Hansen, the only other white receiver on the Jets.
I mean, yeah, that didn't work out. So let's hope this one does. But pretty much, we've had a lot of struggles with our receivers and quarterbacks and I don't know, anything that isn't a safety.
The win column.
The win column. I mean, we were better than the Giants, so kind of tough. But it's okay. It's okay, Matt. Right. We're moving on. But yeah, we need a receiver, and I think he's he can be a guy that Rosen kind of falls in love with. And third down, shifty guy, fast. I think he's going to make a difference, and we'll be able to – day one, he's going to step in. I think him and Rosen might get a good connection coming in together. So I'm hoping for that in a late-round pick.
Okay.
So at 198, Patriots take Justin Jackson, running back Northwestern. He can come into camp, compete for a job. He's a satellite back, all those receiving backs. I love his agility, and it'll be tough for him to make the roster, but in the 6th, 7th round, you just go for dart throws, talent, and I like the kid's game.
Now, question, I might be wrong. Do you have pick 176?
No.
That got traded?
According to Nesson, I do not.
No, I think that's the part of the Brandon Cooks deal.
Yeah, I thought Cooks was the 7th round.
6th.
So we got back once. Nesson's lying to me? Wow.
I don't know. I'm just seeing on.
You know what? See, this is the great thing about our show, everyone. Like, it's just a gong show right now. I take Justin Jackson wherever that 6th round pick is. He deserves a shot.
Yeah, I'm on Walter Football just as a.
You could take Josh Jackson, maybe.
Basketball player?
Yeah, or corner.
Or that one.
At 210 in the 6th round, Pat's like Joe Osman, edge rusher, Central Michigan. Highly productive player. Might have led the country in sacks. Just, Gruden grinder. He's kind of, not a great athlete, but
I mean, are those a thing anymore?
He's going to Oakland.
This is exactly.
You don't get a Gruden grinder, man. We got to find a new name.
So yeah, he competes the camp, and that's my 6th round. Anyone up?
We're done. The Giants are done. So
the Jets have a 7th round pick. I'm losing count of wherever it is.
The Pats select Russell Gage, receiver, LSU.
I guess I don't get to go. We have a 7th round pick.
I read on Twitter that this kid loves special teams, loves hitting people.
He's
a receiver. They call him Troy Brown. Welcome to camp, kid.
Man, imagine if we incorporated alcohol into this podcast.
Imagine. So, being that Andy jumped the gun and we didn't really listen to him, I'll take my turn here. I don't even know if this guy's going to be around.
Here we go.
Seventh. No. Listen.
Well,
I want Luke Falk to compete with Rosen. Like,
no.
Just got an alert. Andy is no longer coming to the draft. Sources confirmed.
See you later. No, it's a receiver, and you know what? You just tell me that he's not there because you're probably right. I haven't found him in the top 6 rounds in a handful of the mocks I've looked at. Is the kid out of USF, Marquez Valdez-Scantling?
Sure. I think he'll go like a little higher than that, but you've been spooning value all day, so why not?
I mean, I've been picking guys that have been mocked later, so just
Brian O'Neill, 3rd round. Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, he actually was mocked to us. Sorry.
Oh man,
he just likes to cut everything. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do research and finding guys later than us. It's okay. I don't want to jump the gun. It's fine.
The scouting department over here is
I have no idea what's going on with this guy. I like him. Will he be there? Probably not. Other teams are probably going to like him. I didn't see him in the 6 rounds that I looked at on 2 things. Whatever. Fine. Not there. Have your fun.
All right.
So those were our official mock 1.0s. We'll do mock 2.0 right before the draft. Maybe switch it up a little bit.
I probably won't because I'll just be told I'm wrong.
Why is the Jets, man? I was kidding. Shaquem Griffin, 4th round, man.
Yeah, okay.
This is where the personal issues get part of the podcast, and we will discuss that next week on the show.
Pats,
that about
Jets,
wraps
whatever.
it up.
Brady, take out his knee. Shaquem Griffin, please dive at it.
Can you believe this is on record?
It's fine.
People are going to listen to this.
Bronco retire. It's the Jets' turn.
We have Hayden Hurst, PJ Hall rushing the passer. You got Lamar Jackson the next.
I drafted a goddamn punter in the 4th round.
To be fair, Rosen will get hit game 1. He'll be out. He'll retire. So we'll be back to square one.
Yeah, quick thing on that. I was considering punter, but the Pats lost the Super Bowl and they didn't punt, so I'm not sure we quite need that.
Yeah, they also didn't play their best defensive player, so that was a take. Anyway,
great podcast. Like chemistry, entertainment. This was a good one.
Just a quick question: does Cook still think he's on the Patriots, or from that hit in the Super Bowl, or is he just?
I don't know what he thinks he's doing. He may request another trade.
A lot of odds. Number 1, Patriots plus 600. Giants 940. The Jets are higher ranked to win the NBA Finals than the NFL.
Against the Warriors?
Hot takes exposed. I don't think they get it done.
Wow. I mean, yeah, we really don't have that talent, do we?
No.
NBA? Oh, that's tough.
I think it is 11:11 at night. I'm making a wish.
Make a wish,
this
man.
podcast ends now. It's spiraling out of control. So for that,
Can you wait for draft night?
I don't think so. And by 11:11 on draft night, I may have jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge and or climbed the Empire State Building. So we can only hope, right? All right. So for another
night,
episode,
everybody.
episode number 4,
Bye.
adios, amigos.